The Vorkarian battlecruiser shook Earth's skies as it descended from the stars. The alien warship's weapons were locked on humanity's most populous cities, ready to obliterate millions at the push of a button. Zephyr, the cunning Vorkarian ambassador, strode into the United Nations Assembly Hall flanked by a squadron of insectoid shock troopers. The alien's yellow eyes gleamed with malice as he delivered the Galactic Council's ultimatum. "People of Earth," Zephyr's voice boomed through the chamber, "you have 24 hours to submit to the Galactic Council's rule and pay tribute, or your planet will be reduced to ashes." Frantic debates erupted among Earth's leaders. Some urged for surrender, believing resistance against the Council's military supremacy was futile. But in a secure command bunker deep beneath the White House, U.S. President Noah Kennedy activated a long-hidden protocol. At a classified facility in the Nevada desert, warning klaxons blared as teams of scientists and soldiers rushed to unlock the cryo chambers housing the subjects of Project Titan, a battalion of super soldiers held in stasis to be awakened in humanity's darkest hour. Among the cryopods containing the slumbering super soldiers was one bearing the name Captain Aria Vance. A legendary war hero of unmatched courage and ferocity, Vance had volunteered to be frozen until the day her abilities were needed again. As the vapors hissed from her opening cryotube and she took her first breath in decades, Aria knew that moment had come. It was time to fight for humanity's very right to exist as a free species. As the cryovapors dissipated, Aria Vance took stock of her surroundings with a soldier's keen eye. The cavernous underground facility hummed with activity as the other Titans were revived from their icy slumber. Technicians hurried to outfit the disoriented super soldiers with sleek, advanced combat armor and weapons that had been developed in secret during their long hibernation. Aria strode to the command center, her steps purposeful and assured. A holographic display lit up, revealing the dire situation in orbit. Vorkarian warships swarmed Earth's defensive perimeter, their hulls filled with fearsome weapons. The outmatched human fleet fought valiantly, but their numbers dwindled with each passing minute. "What's the plan, Captain?" Major Nico Vasari, Aria's trusted second-in-command, asked as he fell into step beside her. Aria's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical readouts. "We take the fight to them, hard and fast. Show them what humanity is capable of." She outlined a bold strategy, painstakingly developed through countless classified wargaming scenarios. Lightning strikes on the enemy's flanks, targeting their command ships and supply lines. It was a risky gambit, but the alternative was certain annihilation. As the Titans suited up and boarded their sleek, heavily armed dropships, Aria paused to address her troops. They looked to her with a mix of anticipation and grim willpower, the weight of humanity's fate resting on their enhanced shoulders. "I won't lie to you," Aria said, her voice ringing with quiet intensity. "The odds are stacked against us, but each of you is worth 100 of their soldiers, maybe more. And if this is to be our end, let us make it such an end as to be worthy of remembrance." With a final nod, Aria sealed her helmet and strapped into the command chair of her dropship. The hangar doors yawned open, revealing the chaos of battle raging in the skies above. Vorkarian fighters clashed with human drones in dizzying swarms, energy beams crisscrossing the atmosphere like lethal fireworks. Aria's dropships punched through the orbital fray, their hulls scorched and pitted by glancing hits. They closed on the nearest Vorkarian warship, its angular hull looming before them like a monstrous insectoid carapace. "Deploying in 3, 2, 1, mark!" Aria barked. The Titans jettisoned from their dropships, magnetic grapples snagging onto the enemy hull. They moved with superhuman speed and agility, skating across the warship's surface as their armor's thrusters flared. The ship's point defense turrets swiveled to target the boarders, but the Titans were too quick, leaping and dodging through hails of energized shrapnel. Aria skidded to a halt beside an airlock, ripping open the control panel with gauntleted hands. Nico and the other Titans formed a perimeter, unleashing blistering volleys from their pulse rifles to keep the Vorkarian defenders at bay. The airlock hissed open, and the Titans surged inside, plunging into the bowels of the alien vessel. The cramped corridors swarmed with insectoid shock troopers, their carapaces glistening in the emerald light of bioluminescent panels. The air rang with the shrill of Vorkarian battle cries and the thunder of human weapons fire. Arya was a whirlwind of destruction, her augmented reflexes and strength making her a one-woman army. She ripped through the enemy ranks, scything down foes with devastating efficiency. The deck grew slick with ichor and viscera as the Titans pressed deeper into the ship, securing key junctions and sabotaging vital systems. On the warship's bridge, Zephyr watched the feeds in disbelief as the human boarders tore through his soldiers like an unstoppable force of nature. His mandibles clacked in frustration, a cold dread settling in his thorax. The Council had utterly underestimated these Earthlings. This was no mere primitive species to be cowed into submission. This was a race of indomitable warriors. As alarms shrieked and damage reports flooded in, Zephyr realized with sinking certainty that the age of Vorkarian supremacy may well be coming to a violent end. And at the epicenter of that cataclysmic shift stood one human soldier, her eyes blazing with defiance as she fought for her species' very right to exist. Arya's fist slammed into the Vorkarian bridge officer's carapace, shattering it with a sickening crunch. As the alien crumpled, she spun to survey the chaos around her. The bridge was a maelstrom of combat, Titans locked in fierce battle with the insectoid crew. "Nico!" Arya barked. "Status on the navigation systems?" Major Vasari's voice crackled through her comms. "Almost there, Captain. Just need to—" His words were cut off by the shriek of tearing metal. Arya vaulted over a sparking console, her augmented muscles propelling her across the bridge. She landed beside Nico, who was wrestling with a Vorkarian engineer over control of a glowing terminal. With a swift, brutal motion, Arya grabbed the alien by its thorax and hurled it across the room. "Do it," she ordered. Nico's fingers flew over the alien controls. The ship's massive engines thrummed to life, vibrating through the deck plates. On the main view screen, Earth's battered orbital defense grid gave way to a sea of stars as the commandeered vessel broke atmosphere. "We're clear," Nico reported. "Course set for the Prometheus facility." Arya nodded grimly. "All teams, secure your sectors and prepare for jump. We're taking this fight straight to the Council's doorstep." As the stolen Vorkarian warship accelerated towards its destination, Arya allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. The tide was turning, but the real battle was just beginning. Hours later, the massive silhouette of the Prometheus facility loomed before them. Its sleek, angular form was unlike any human construction, a testament to the advanced technology they'd reverse-engineered from downed Vorkarian ships. "Stealth systems engaged," Nico reported. "We're masked from their sensors, for now." Arya studied the facility's schematics, mapping out their infiltration route. "Team Alpha will breach here," she indicated a service airlock. "Beta and Gamma, you're our distraction. Hit their defensive grid hard, then fall back to extraction points." The Titans moved with precision, honed by years of training and enhanced by their augmentations. Arya led Alpha Team through the twisted corridors of the facility, dispatching security drones and the occasional Vorkarian guard with ruthless efficiency. They burst into the main hangar bay, and Arya's breath caught in her throat. There, dominating the cavernous space, was humanity's secret weapon, the Prometheus. Its hull gleamed with an unearthly sheen, overflowing with weapons far beyond anything Earth had fielded before. "By all that's holy," Nico whispered, "it's magnificent." But as they approached the ship, Arya's enhanced vision caught something out of place. A data terminal, its screen flickering with encrypted transmissions. She frowned, gesturing for Nico to cover her as she investigated. Her eyes widened as she decrypted the messages. This can't be right," she muttered. "Captain?" Nico's voice was tense. Arya's mind raced as she pieced together the implications. The invasion, the Council's ultimatum. It's all a smokescreen. There's a group called the Orion Syndicate pulling the strings, and they have operatives embedded at the highest levels of... Alarms blared, cutting her off. The hangar doors began to iris shut as heavily armed Vorkarian troops poured in. "We're blown," Arya shouted. "Everyone to the Prometheus now!" The Titans fought their way up the ship's boarding ramp, laying down suppressing fire as Arya sprinted for the bridge. Her fingers danced over unfamiliar controls, coaxing the experimental ship to life. The Prometheus's engines roared, drowning out the sounds of battle. With a burst of impossible speed, it shot through the closing hangar doors, shearing them from their mounts in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. As they broke free of the facility's gravity well, Arya allowed herself a small smile. They had their ship, and more importantly, they had information that could change the course of the war. "Set course for Earth," she ordered, "and get me a secure line to command. We need to warn them about the Orion Syndicate." The stars blurred into streaks of light as the Prometheus engaged its jump drive, carrying Arya and her team towards their next battle, one that would determine the fate not just of Earth, but of the entire galaxy. The Prometheus dropped out of hyperspace, its experimental engines cooling as Earth's familiar blue orb filled the view screen. Arya Vance stood at the bridge, her posture rigid despite the exhaustion etched on her face. "Secure channel to command established, Captain," Nico reported, his fingers dancing across the console. Arya nodded, her eyes never leaving the planet below. "This is Captain Vance. Authorization code Zulu Tango 937. I need to speak with the President immediately." Minutes later, President Kennedy's hologram flickered to life on the bridge. His eyes widened as Arya relayed the intel about the Orion Syndicate's machinations. "This changes everything," Kennedy muttered, running a hand through his graying hair. "We need to act fast. I'm calling an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council." As the Prometheus docked at the orbital defense station, Arya's comm crackled. "Captain, we have an urgent request for your presence at UN headquarters." 12 hours later, Arya found herself in a secure conference room deep beneath the UN building. The air was thick with tension as world leaders and military brass crowded around a holographic display of the galaxy. A tall, willowy alien with iridescent skin stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Zara Venari," she said, her voice melodic yet tinged with urgency. "I represent a coalition of races who have long suspected the Syndicate's corruption of the Galactic Council. Your intelligence confirms our worst fears." Arya locked eyes with the ambassador. "Then you understand what's at stake. We need to strike at the heart of the Syndicate before they can regroup." Zara nodded, her multifaceted eyes glinting. "I propose a joint operation. My people have operatives embedded within the Council. Combined with your Titans, we might stand a chance." The room erupted in heated debate. Some argued for caution, others for immediate action. Arya's patience wore thin as precious minutes ticked by. She slammed her fist on the table, the impact leaving a noticeable dent. "Every moment we waste is a moment the Syndicate uses to cover their tracks. We need to move now." The room fell silent. President Kennedy cleared his throat. "Captain Vance, you have full authority to proceed with the operation. Godspeed." Over the next 48 hours, Arya and Zara pored over intelligence reports and schematics of the Galactic Council's headquarters. They identified a crucial window, an upcoming full assembly where all council members would be present. In the Prometheus's hangar bay, Arya addressed the assembled strike force, her battle-hardened Titans standing shoulder to shoulder with Zara's rebel warriors. The air crackled with anticipation. "This mission will determine the fate of not just humanity, but countless species across the galaxy," Arya said, her voice carrying to every corner of the bay. "We strike hard, we strike fast, and we don't stop until we've torn the Syndicate's lies wide open." As the strike team made final preparations, Dr. Lena Sorensen approached Arya, her lab coat swishing as she walked. "Captain, I've fine-tuned our jamming tech to counter any Syndicate failsafes, but be warned, we're venturing into unknown territory. Expect the unexpected." Arya nodded grimly. "Understood, Doctor. Nico, status report?" Her second-in-command snapped to attention. "All systems green, Captain. Stealth drive is primed and ready." With a final nod to her team, Arya strode towards the Prometheus's bridge. The massive ship hummed to life, its experimental engines glowing with terrifying power. "Plot a course for the Council headquarters," Arya ordered, strapping herself into the command chair. It's time we showed the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of. The Prometheus vanished in a flash of light, leaving Earth behind as it hurtled towards a confrontation that would reshape the course of galactic history. The Prometheus emerged from hyperspace, the familiar blue orb of Earth filling the viewscreen. Arya exhaled slowly, her grip on the command chair loosening. They had done it. In a seemingly impossible way, they had exposed the Orion Syndicate and struck a blow for freedom across the galaxy. As the ship docked at the orbital defense station, a barrage of messages flooded the comm systems. Cheers erupted from every corner of the planet below. Humanity, it seemed, was ready to embrace its new role in a reformed galactic community. But for Arya and her Titans, the jubilation felt hollow. In the weeks that followed, ceremonies blurred together. Medals were pinned to chests still aching from battle. Speeches lauded their heroism, but the words rang empty in Arya's ears. She stood stoically through it all, her enhanced physiology masking the turmoil within. Dr. Sorensen cornered her after one such event, concern etched on her face. "Captain, I've been reviewing the psych evals. The results are troubling." Arya's eyebrows furrowed. "Explain." "The augmentations," Sorensen said, her voice low. "They've affected more than just physical capabilities. Emotional responses are severely dampened. It's like you've all been weaponized," Arya finished, her voice devoid of inflection. The doctor nodded grimly. "We're working on solutions, but—" A commotion interrupted them. Across the room, Major Vasari had overturned a table, his eyes wild. Security personnel approached cautiously, hands hovering near weapons. Arya moved with inhuman speed, placing herself between Vasari and the guards. "Stand down," she ordered, her voice cutting through the tension. She turned to her second-in-command. "Nico, look at me." Vasari's gaze snapped to her, recognition slowly dawning. He slumped, the fight draining from him. I can't do this, Captain," he whispered. "The noise, the people, it's too much." Arya nodded, understanding all too well. She led him from the room, acutely aware of the stares that followed. Months passed. The Titans struggled to find their place in a world that both revered and feared them. Arya threw herself into endless meetings, coordinating with Ambassador Veneri to reshape galactic policies. But the work felt disconnected, academic. Her hands, once instruments of battlefield precision, now felt clumsy manipulating data pads and treaty documents. Late one night, as she pored over intelligence reports in her Spartan quarters, a priority message flashed across her screen. Her eyes widened as she read, a chill settling in her augmented bones. Within the hour, she stood before a hastily convened emergency council. The room bristled with tension as she relayed the news. "One of the original Titan Project scientists has come forward," Arya stated, her voice steady despite the implications. "He claims our emotional dampening was intentional, a control measure." The room erupted in shock and outrage. President Kennedy's face paled. "Can it be reversed?" Dr. Sorensen stepped forward, her expression grim. "Theoretically, yes, but the risks are extreme. We'd be dealing with a lifetime of repressed emotions suddenly unleashed. The psychological trauma alone could be catastrophic." Arya's decision was instantaneous. "I'll do it." Arguments ensued, but Arya's dedication was unshakable. Within days, she was strapped to an operating table, Dr. Sorensen's concerned face hovering above her. "Are you sure about this, Captain?" the doctor asked, her hand poised over the anesthetic controls. Arya nodded, her enhanced muscles tensing involuntarily. "Do it." As consciousness faded, Arya's last thought was of Earth, hanging fragile and blue in the void of space. Then, darkness. The first sensation was pain. Not physical, Arya's augmented body barely registered such trivialities. This was something deeper, primal. A scream tore from her throat, raw and agonized. Emotions, long suppressed, crashed over her like a tidal wave. Alarms blared. Medical staff scrambled. Through a haze of tears, Arya saw Dr. Sorensen shouting orders, her words lost in the cacophony of sensations. Rage, fear, grief, joy. Each emotion hit with the force of a plasma round, threatening to tear her apart. Arya's enhanced strength, once so precisely controlled, now lashed out wildly. Equipment shattered, restraints snapped without difficulty. "Contain her!" someone shouted. Strong arms wrapped around her, familiar yet strange. Nico Vasari's face swam into view, concern etched on his features. "Captain, stand down!" But Arya was beyond reason. With a roar of anguish, she hurled Vasari across the room. He hit the wall with a sickening crunch and slid to the floor, unmoving. The realization of what she'd done cut through the emotional maelstrom. Arya froze, horror washing over her. In that moment of clarity, she felt the sting of a hypospray against her neck. Darkness claimed her once more. She awoke in a room of smooth, featureless white. No windows, no visible doors. A habitat, she realized, designed by the Galactic Council to contain beings of immense power. A prison. Arya sat motionless, her knees going weak. The emotions were still there, but muted now, as if observed through thick glass. She could feel the weight of them, threatening to overwhelm her at any moment. A holographic display flickered to life before her. Ambassador Venari's alien features regarded her with a mixture of sympathy and wariness. "Captain Vance," the ambassador began, her melodic voice tinged with sadness. "I hope you are feeling more stable." Arya's laugh was bitter, devoid of humor. "Stable? I'm a weapon that's misfired, Ambassador, a danger to everyone around me." Venari's expression softened. "You are more than that, Arya. You've done more for galactic peace than any being in centuries. But yes, for now, confinement is necessary." Arya nodded, accepting the verdict without protest. "And the others? My team?" A flicker of hesitation crossed the ambassador's features. "Most are undergoing intensive therapy. Some have disappeared. We're doing all we can to locate them." Arya closed her eyes, grief threatening to overwhelm her. "And Vasari?" Venari's silence was answer enough. As the hologram faded, Arya was left alone with her thoughts. The white walls seemed to close in, a stark canvas for the horrors her mind now conjured. She had been the blade that saved humanity, but at what cost? Now she sat, broken and discarded, a relic of a war no one wanted to remember. Yet even as despair threatened to consume her, a part of Arya, the part that had led humanity to victory against impossible odds, refused to give in. There were whispers of discontent, hints that not all threats had been rooted out. Perhaps there was still a role for her to play, a way to protect the peace she had sacrificed so much to achieve. But first, she had to find a way to master the storm raging within her own mind.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.